Okay, good morning and welcome to this Friday edition of The Real Me, chapter number 2 we're going to be doing. Again, this is a book written by an Avrech from Kiryat Sefer, Rav Yaakov Bushkovsky, originally written in Hebrew. I have the English translation, which was written by the Mashkiach in the Mir of Brooklyn, Moshe Ginsburg. We're moving on to chapter 2 over here. In chapter 2, he starts to get into the Torah being the manual for the world. I believe this was a mashal that Chatzkel Levenstein said. He says, when you buy a refrigerator, right, you open up the refrigerator, you don't know how it works. You have to read the instruction manual. Same thing with Hashem gave us the world. The instruction manual is the Torah. It tells us how to use the world. I always had a problem with this mashal because, technically, whenever I buy a appliance or something like that, I really don't read the instruction manual. I usually throw the instruction manual out. It doesn't really help. They're pretty much easy to figure out how to use these things. Most things, the instruction manual, it's not. I don't know if it's the best mashal. There are certain things that you can't use without a manual, but most appliances you can figure out how to use without them and just plug it in. So anyways, he compares the Torah to a manual. The Torah is the way to navigate the world, because he says there's two parts that we have to deal with. We have our guf, our body, and we have the nefesh. The nefesh, in Kabbalah, it's normally thought of, there's, Derech Hashem talks about this, there's nefesh, chaya, yechida, ruach, neshama, there's 5 parts to the Kabbalistic soul. I mean, we don't want to go too deep in what the soul is. Everybody knows that they have, besides their actual body, their life force is, right? Hashem blew into the nose of a person, nishmas chayim, nefesh chaya, and a person turned into a nefesh chaya, an animalistic. So that's what he says over here. Our nefesh is your animal soul. Your body is your guf. He says it's very easy to figure out how to use your body. Your body doesn't need so much attention. Your body will tell you when it's hungry. It will tell you when you're thirsty. Your body will tell you when you're tired. So as long as you just take basic care of your body, you go to sleep when you're supposed to, and you eat whatever you need to eat, that's okay. But what gives you problems? Your nefesh gives you problems. He calls it your animal soul. He says the purpose is to synthesize it to your guf and nefesh in order to carry out the will of the ruach, which he says is your godly soul. So, Naran is usually the way saying Kabbalah, nefesh, ruach, neshama. He doesn't talk about what the neshama is, but he mentions two of them, the nefesh and the ruach. The nefesh is your animal soul, and the ruach is what really Hashem wants from you. He says you have to, and he says what gives you problems is your nefesh. Your nefesh is that thing which gives you problems, your animal soul, because you're right. Technically, if I'm hungry, all I have to do is eat some bread and salt, right? But your animal soul wants more. It wants toast. It wants a grilled cheese sandwich. It wants, pistacio bread. It doesn't want just a plain piece of white bread. It wants something nice on it, some fancy cheese, mozzarella cheese, cheddar cheese, whatever you want. You want something. The animal soul wants more, and we have to know how to control that. Sometimes, and he says, obviously, basically, when it comes to sleeping, right? Your body gets tired, you should go to sleep. But no, your animal has desires. I want to be a gadol, like he talks about. I want to stay up, learn the whole night. So that's the problem that we have. We have this animal soul that we have to deal with. So he doesn't really go into what he's going to go to the next chapter, which is your wants versus your desires. Meaning, sometimes in Hebrew they call it mosaros, things that are extra, luxuries, maybe things you don't need. We'll talk more about that. Obviously, the needs of a person are essential, and everyone would agree that you have to fulfill those needs. But there's also wants. Every human being knows there's things that I want. I want that fancy car. I don't want to drive, a 2000 beat-up Honda Accord. I want to drive the Tesla, Tesla X. That's what I want, Tesla X. So, you want to drive that fancy car. So that's how do you deal with those wants versus desires. I'll talk about that in the next chapter. But here, he's saying because we know that we have this nefesh and we have this animal soul, which is bad, it's driving us in the wrong direction, things that we don't want. So we need the Torah to guide us and to tell us what to give to that nefesh, what is appropriate to give that nefesh, more than just the basic needs of the body. so that we don't ruin our body and we don't ruin our nefesh and we don't ruin Pneumius. We'll have to talk more about who you really are. That's the name of the book, The Real Me. Who is the real you? Is the real you your body? Is the real you your soul? Is the real you something else? We'll get to that. But he basically says that most people's mistake is that they have the Torah. He compares it to here. If you buy a digital camera and read the manual, but your pictures are still coming out blurry or the camera stops working, you can come to several possible conclusions. Why is the camera not working? Number one possibility, the camera is faulty. It's a problem with the camera. Number two, the instructions are wrong. You can say the instructions are wrong. Number three, you misunderstood the instructions and you're operating the camera incorrectly. This is the one he advocates for, and he says this is the way we should view it with the Torah also. We read the Torah, we learn the Torah, but we don't understand the instructions of the Torah. And that's basically the cause of the fact that we let our animal soul, our nefesh, do things that we really don't want. You misunderstood the instructions. That's what he says. That's basically the cause of a lot of problems that leads to, problems with happiness, problems with contentment, problems, health problems. These are all caused by the fact that you misunderstood the Torah. The Torah is there to guide you, tell you what to give that nefesh, what not to give that nefesh. So the Torah is good. The Torah, there's no problem with the Torah. There's no problem with the instruction manual. There's no problem with this world. The problem is you don't know how to use this world. You don't know how to use. You misread the instruction manual. You didn't read the instruction manual. What I'd like to add to this, to the words he's saying over here, is yes, the Torah is the instruction manual, but I'm just going to make it a little more practical on a surface level. We have a mitzvah, let's say, to go sit in a sukkah. Mitzvah blow a shofar. These are time by put on tefillin, tzitzis, right? The Torah is supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to make you content. It's supposed to make you satisfied. As he says in this chapter, it's supposed to make you satisfied if you read the instruction manual properly. The way we have these mitzvahs nowadays, I don't know how sitting in a sukkah, especially in America, New York, New Jersey, where it's very cold, you have to bundle up to go out to eat the first kazayas, or it's raining on the first night. I don't know how happy that's going to make you. Maybe some people will make you happy. I don't know. They're a completely ruchnistic of people that all that matters to them is spirituality. But again, if you're a totally spiritual person, you have a very difficult time relating to other people, relating to your kids, to your wife, which we'll have to come back to, which he talks about in later chapters, which is really something that's very serious. It's not thought about a lot. There's always, everything comes at an expense, and if you're going to be a completely spiritual person detached from the world, it's going to come at an expense of the relationships with your kids, with your wife, and just being a normal person. So we'll have to talk about that more at the end, towards the end of the book. But the way the mitzvahs are right now, and I think that's what he's saying also over here, is that the way we understand the mitzvahs, I want to emphasize that what we do as the mitzvahs now is really a drasha, right? It's always a drasha, right? And the Gra says in many places that there's something called pardes. It stands for pshat, remez, drasod. Not in that order. First comes pshat, that's a simple explanation of the Torah. And then there's the drasha exegesis, right? Which is the Gemara is full of, and we follow the drasha literally. That's what we do. It says esrog in the Gemara, hadar milan l'chol shana v'shana, right? It stays on the tree for more than 1 year, so we say that's the esrog. We have identifying marks that's the esrog. That was the Masorah that's passed down generation to generation. You shake that on Chukas, and you're thinking that's going to bring you happiness. But again, that's the drasha. And then there's a higher level, is remage, which is really found in Kabbalah and the Zohar and things like that. It's a hint. It's not the truth. The sod is the truth. The sod, right? The secrets behind the mitzvah, that's really the sod. And that's really what's going to make us happy. I think that's what he means over here, that we misunderstand the manual. But I don't think it's a problem that we can fix right now, because we really don't have the keys. The Minchas China, the Sefer HaChinuch, a lot of Sfarim talk about Sharshei HaMitzvah, the reasons behind the mitzvah. We don't know the reasons behind the mitzvah. It's not so easy, it's not so simple. I do have some things that I want to say about the reasons of some mitzvah. If you want to hear the reasons of the mitzvah, make sure to listen to my Ian on the Shulchan Aruch Shir. We've already talked about tzitzis, and we're talking about tefillin now. I've offered suggestions of what I believe the sod of those mitzvahs are. And if you listen to those things, you'll agree with me that those things actually can bring you contentment and bring you happiness in life, because they make sense. The sod actually makes sense. Tzitzis has something to do with the bedroom. Tefillin has something to do with navigating this world with a cheshbon nefesh, and probably calculating your actions before, during, and after you do them. And we'll get to more things in the Shulchan Aruch as we go through the Shulchan Aruch. I'm going to give you Shulchan Aruch And I give also my other Ian Shurim, I suggest ideas behind the mitzvos. These are my ideas, whether they say they're wrong or right, that's for you to decide. But there is a sod, and I think that's really what he means over here, the author means over here. Not that you read the manual wrong. It's not your fault that you read the manual wrong. I believe that the manual is it's truthful. Drasha is truth, it's part of the truth, but it's not the whole truth. It's not the real truth. We have to keep that in mind also nowadays, because we don't have the real truth, we don't have the sod, we're not operating on that level. It's because we're not operating on that level, we have to make sure that we don't overdo it with chumras. I'm not saying you shouldn't do the drasha, that's all we have now, so that's our connection to the Torah. So you should shake a lulav and esrog on sukkah, you should sit in the sukkah, you should blow shofar, but you should keep in mind, don't do the extra chumras, don't shake 10 lulav and esrogim to be able to all the shitas, don't sit in the sukkah the whole time when it's raining, and don't, wear tefillin the whole day and the whole night and things like that. Rely on the kulas that you can have, because these are not really what makes you happy, because the sod is what makes you happy, not the drasha. It's a big chiddush I'm saying over here. Now I want to relate it to this week's Parshas, the Parshas Chukas, because it is Friday, and this week's Parshas Chukas, Eretz Yisrael, Parshas Korach in America, but I live in Eretz Yisrael, so you go to Eretz Yisrael. Parshas Chukas talks about Paraduma, calls those Chukas HaTorah. This is, and we always, Rashi says Chukim are things we don't understand, right? Chukim we don't understand. The Paraduma is very hard to understand, right? One of the things that the person who sprinkles it becomes tamei when he sprinkles. The kohen he sprinkles becomes tamei, and the person he sprinkles the water, the mechatas on, he becomes Torah. So what's matar the tamei is matar the tamei. It's the person who's matar, the person becomes tamei, and the person, whatever, and opposite back and forth. It's hard to understand who's paraduma. The whole idea of paraduma is it's one of those things in the Torah where there are certain things we don't understand. Shatnez we don't understand, right? Eating chazir, why not? We can't eat that. We don't understand that. We understand mishpatim. We understand things. Dinei mamnis, don't kill someone, don't steal someone. The whole world has those laws. But they don't have a law. There's no international laws about kilayim or about piga, chazir, or things like that. And certainly not paraduma. So chukas haTorah, everyone interprets to mean things we don't understand. We do them anyway. I'd like to suggest that the deeper level is not what really the Torah is saying. Chukas haTorah comes from the word chok, is portion. Chok is a portion. The Gemara in Beitza says chok is the portion, the daily meal that you eat. What you need to satisfy your body is your chok. Chukas haTorah, paraduma. You're right. On a drasha level, we don't understand what it's talking about. We don't understand why that's matar some people by sprinkling some ashes of a red cow, red heifer on somebody. We don't understand the sod behind the mitzvah. But it's saying also, so Chukas HaTorah, that nowadays we don't understand that mitzvah. It is a chok. It is part of our life. It's a chok. It's your daily portion. Your daily portion, we speak of daily portion. It's like talks about you're in jail. You get something to eat. You're in an institution or something like that. You're in a school or something like that. They give you what to eat. You don't get to choose your menu. It's not a la carte. It's it's table table of the host, but it's not the best food. They just give you whatever they want. And that's chok. Chok this is the way we are in this world. You take the Torah as a chok now. You take it as a Torah, take it as a portion. Don't go for the fancy stuff. There's not a la carte. You're not ordering the fancy thing on the menu, and you're not going to the French Laundry in San Francisco and ordering table d'hote, you're getting the fanciest meal in the world. No, it's not. That's not the way we approach it. Nowadays we don't have access to the drasha, and maybe a little bit of the remes, but not the so. We don't have access to that. The Torah is telling you that's the way to handle it. Take it as what it is. Don't go for these chumras. Don't go add on to the Torah. Don't be mosif on the Torah chumras. Don't add things onto the Torah. Just take it as it is, a chok. Your basic needs are met. You have your meal. It sustains you. Don't go looking for these fancy chumras in the Torah, because the chumras are not right, because the drasha is not complete truth. To add on something that's not truth is just further extending this bewilderment and not fathoming what the real truth is. You're distancing yourself more from the truth when you take on more than the basic drasha as it is. Take the basic drasha as it is, take it as a chok, and go on and move on in life, and the rest of your life you should live normally, the mitzvahs you do. But in your regular life, try to live as normally as possible. Don't try to put as much Judaism into your life. Whatever the Torah and halacha says, you keep, because that's what we know to be the truth. But don't try to extend and make Yiddishkeit the center of your life. All the things that are chulin, try to make them kadosh. No. What's kadosh, what's mitzvah is mitzvah, and what is secular life, regular life is regular life. Don't try to add on things. Be a normal person. That's the message I have for you today. Hope you have a good Shabbos. Be well.